to Banter Such. I'm Brando.
And I'm Owen.
And today we are talking about The Mummy Movies!
One of the best adventure movies of all time.
Woo!
And this is officially going to start. We're going to do a little 4-episode mini-series, and all episodes are going to be on some of our favorite adventure movies.
Best adventure movie series of all time.
All time.
Yes.
And we're getting back to basics. Today, it is just Brando and I.
It's a bro episode! That's the official title of
the bro episode?
Just me and you, they're bro episodes.
We're just broing down.
Are we going to do a bro catch-up?
Sure.
All right, let's get into some BS.
All right, before we get into today's topic of The Mummy,
Yes.
we got to talk about some things about the Helios Network. Brando.
Yeah, we're doing this without our notes.
Yeah, Brando decided he wanted to do this without a script today. So
And I remember what I'm supposed to say.
Go for it.
Check out theheliosnetwork.com. It is an amazing website that was made by an amazing person, me.
He's talking about himself.
and we got all of our shows up there, so you can check out our shows. But check out the merch, baby.
Yeah.
Because we are selling stuff, and it's awesome stuff like Weisz Truth T-shirts. We got Banter Such stickers. We have pins, and we've even talked about putting more merch up this year, like different kinds of stuff for Master and Debaters, all that stuff. But check it out at theheliosnetwork.com.
As well, if you'd like to support the show and the Helios Network as a whole, there is a Patreon where you get bonus banter episodes, you get discounts on merch, you get to talk to us directly, and the Patreon is in the show notes.
Yeah, and I checked that recently too because I was forgot what some of our Patreon perks were, and you can suggest
topics,
episode
suggest topics. You can vote on things. We do have the wheel of punishment where you can give us ideas for punishments.
Yeah,
and nipple piercings can be on there.
And that's mainly not a perk for our subscribers. It's just because we're running out of ideas and we need help.
Also true. But now, let's unwrap this mummy.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it started with your idea to do the Mummy movies.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, do you want to do a little bro thing first?
Yes.
Yeah, a little catch up.
I thought that's a new thing we could do for the show.
Yeah.
When it's just a bro episode.
And this is 100% we're stealing it from Master and Debaters because they always ask each other how their week's been, and we really liked that.
Their show is so much better than ours,
yes,
and
it
I'm
is.
just jealous.
So we're gonna steal it from them. So Brando, what's new? How's your life been? What's give us a little peek behind the veil.
Well, that's been crazy. So my family and I, we went car camping this past weekend.
Oh shit, yeah.
There's this place Hunts. Have you ever been to Huntsville, Alabama?
Yeah.
I've never been there. I just imagined it was flat and hot and just full of trailers. And I just had a negative stereotype in my mind. I didn't realize until I got there. It was there's mountains there. It was really cool. We hung out, but we went up to one of these mountains and they have this beautiful nature area, state park up there. And beautiful hiking and bike trails and stuff. And we got a spot out in the woods and we did car camping where we put a mattress in the back of our car and we all just cram in there.
Yeah.
And then making a fire and making food on the fire and just going for hikes and stuff and being in nature. Dude, it was so amazing, man.
I'm so happy for you.
It rained and so we set up a tent also and we sat in the tent. We had our little lawn chairs and in the tent and it's just raining outside and just hearing that sound. It sounded amazing, dude.
Oh man. Okay.
And it was just cool. It was just me and my wife and my 2 daughters and we're just chilling,
so
man.
cute. So cute.
Yeah. What in your life, which is exactly like that, right? Oh.
Yeah, definitely. With my wife and 2 daughters as well. No, dude, I mean, everybody knows, I got 3 jobs between, brand managing this and DJing. I don't really have a whole lot of free time.
Yeah.
But we talked about
money.
it pretty much trying at least.
Oh, yeah.
One of the fun things I have been doing, though, because I do try to still have somewhat of a social life or fun things I'm doing, is... we talked about it on this week's episode of Master and Debaters, which I was on for Marvel versus DC.
Oh, yeah.
But Spencer and Alex and I have been playing this new game together. We always try to find time to play some video games together. And there's this new one. It's called Grounded. And it is by far one of my favorite games I've ever played.
Really?
So it is a survival game, kind of like, Minecraft or anything like that, where you have to craft things to survive.
Yeah.
But... it is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, yeah, you told me about this.
Yes, and it's so awesome. So it takes place in 1990 or something like that, and you wake up as a teenager in someone's backyard. and you have to figure out why all of a sudden you're super tiny. Like
Yeah.
you're like an ant is the size of a sedan. That's how tiny
Yeah.
you are.
So you're like climbing blades of grass, and
Grass and like
fighting bugs,
and so you're killing bugs and using bug parts to like create like weapons and armor. You can cut down grass and weeds to like help build bases, and you have like things hunting you. So like larvas hunting you, spiders, and spiders are literally the size of like giant buses.
That sounds horrifying.
It
I
is.
would die.
There's
I would
legitimately
die.
you sign into the game and you have to click a arachnophobia notice.
Oh wow.
And it literally goes like this game, if you fear of spiders, don't play it. But they also have a sliding scale on how terrifying you want the spiders to be.
Oh, what?
So you can go most terrifying, and legitimately they are terrifying. But like you can all suddenly give them like no fangs, less legs, to the point where they're literally just a floating snowman. It's just like two balls of white globs that are fighting you.
That's like some like Gen Z like, hey, it's okay, baby. Don't get scared.
Yeah, we still want you to play this game,
Yeah.
and if you suffer from it,
If you freak out,
just go all the way to not scary. But even that, the floating snowmen are still terrifying.
is that on Steam?
Yeah, it's on Steam. It's on Xbox and PC only, though.
So I started playing my Steam games finally.
Oh, yeah.
I've had games in my library. I have like old ass games that I've still.
Yeah, but you're a father, so you don't really have time to play video games.
Well, I do now.
Yeah.
So I've been playing Ori and the Blind Forest, and which is like it's like a game from like I don't know 10 or 15 years ago.
Oh, I've never. Yeah.
It's a side scroller and it's so much fun.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's awesome.
Damn.
So
All right.
yeah, that's the big news of my life.
Dude, well, you stay up late, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. Well, so here's the issue with Grounded.
Yeah.
Is like Spencer, Alex, and I will get on, and it's like 8 or 9 p.m. And then I
Yeah.
look down on my phone. Next thing you know, it's 4 a.m. I'm like, oh shit.
You are such a night owl.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
Anyways.
am too.
That's
So
a little bit that's going on in our lives.
I know.
That's our little we're broing down.
So you texted me and you're like, let's do the Mummy. Because last episode, if you listen to last episode, we're like, next week we're talking about I don't know.
Something. Yeah.
I mean, we have like 50 topics we want to talk about.
Yeah.
And we just don't choose which one. And you text me, you're like, let's do the Mummy.
Yeah, and it's easy. It's because The Mummy is legitimately one of my favorite movies of all time.
Hell yeah, man.
It's every single time we have done a like season starter, the and been like best at movies of all time. The Mummy has almost been in every single
Really?
one. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Did we even? Was it in one of them?
We didn't talk about the Mummy.
I don't think we talked about.
There's
The
no
Mummy.
way.
Yeah, no, we did. I did Pirates of the Caribbean instead.
Oh,
That's
okay,
right.
okay. Well, I mean, and I was like, all right, we're going to talk about the first two Mummy movies because there's a third movie and then the Scorpion King spinoffs, and we'll talk about
Yeah.
those. But really, it's about those first two
It's about
movies,
the
man.
Mummy and the Mummy Returns because the Jade Tomb, the Jade Emperor, the third one is not a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Rachel Weisz didn't even come back for
Yeah.
that one.
That's it right there, man.
Yeah.
That's what changes it.
Yeah.
So like, but this first one came out and
Do you realize that this first movie came out in 1999? And I keep on talking about this conspiracy theory that the 1999 is the best year of cinema ever.
Oh, is that a conspiracy theory?
It's a theory. It's not really a conspiracy theory, but it's a theory.
What came out? Well, we've done this before.
but
I remember
I'll
The
do it
Matrix
again.
is the only
Yeah.
one I remember, and like American Beauty, I think.
All right, so let's see here. Phantom Menace, Green Mile, Austin Powers, The Sixth Sense.
Oh wow, yeah.
Bicentennial Man, The Matrix, Boondock Saints, The Mummy, The 13th Warrior. That's not a good one.
Yeah.
But like all
Bicentennial Man's
those.
not a good one.
Yeah. The Iron Giant, Big Daddy.
Oh.
Let's see here.
Okay.
The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah. These are some
American Beauty.
These are big hitters. Yeah.
Yeah.
American
Double
Beauty's
Jeopardy.
amazing. Double Jeopardy.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
The General's Daughter.
That's a good one though.
Yeah.
That's
there's a bunch of good ones.
Yeah. But I mean, this one comes out of the gate, and it was definitely two at the time. I mean, like in '99, because I mean, if you talk about the movie, you have to talk about like adventure movies,
Yeah.
and that's where the idea of doing this adventure movie series came from. Because I was like, there's not a lot of good adventure movies out there. If you think about it, like action, sci-fi, fantasy, all of those are good. Drama, all these thrillers, horrors, tons of good movies like that. But for some reason, the adventure genre does not have a lot of good movies.
No, because the issue is the adventure genre, you have to do multiple genres within inside it.
Okay.
So adventure, you need to, different set pieces. They need to travel around all over. That's
Yeah.
why like Dune doesn't work. It's not really an adventure movie because it only takes place on really one planet.
Yeah, I mean that's more of like a sci-fi drama.
Yeah. And where it's like you need to have a set, like all these different crazy big sets and like locations that they visit. So you need that. You need the adventure aspect of it.
Yeah.
There has to be some type of like mystery aspect to it
like
as
a
well. Discovery, or like, what does the MacGuffin do and how do we find it?
Yeah.
There needs to be romance. How do you have an adventure movie without some type of romance involved in it?
Yeah.
There needs to be action. There usually needs to be some type of like horror or like thrilling aspect to it as well.
With the action too, it needs to be like a swashbuckling action, like a fun action.
Yeah, it can't be John Wick. It needs to be like over the top, like fun swashbuckling for sure.
Yeah. And then you said, and like a little bit of scary. There's got to be some scary horror element.
And comedy.
Yeah. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And you just don't find a ton of movies. And it's so easy to fail at that. We were just talking about Sahara with, was it Matthew McConaughey?
Matthew McConaughey.
And
all right.
And that was like one of the ones that failed. It just apparently didn't catch with people. But my biggest criteria for what is an adventure movie, because that is kind of like a nebulous concept.
Yeah.
But my big criteria for what is an adventure movie is the movie poster orange? That's the thing. If the movie poster is orange, it's an adventure movie.
Yeah, and pretty much.
They're going to unearth some old secret or mystery or whatever, and have fun and discover things.
Yeah.
But there's something amazing about that. I love that. Like going in the like unearthing some hidden tomb or hidden temple or something. That's
and it always is going to bring about the destruction of the world.
Oh,
I feel like every single adventure movie, that's going to happen.
Well, there's that danger, right? Like you got to. Like it's been there for eons, but now the world will end.
And even in the second The Mummy Returns, they kind of make fun of that as well.
Yeah.
And which is great. They kind of become a little, pop culture self-aware, and they make fun of it a little bit. But
I just feel like such an itch for the adventure movies, because there's not a lot. Like, what would you name? I mean, the 4 that we came up with, I think, are like the 4. Like,
yeah, I mean, they're already saying. I typed in the best adventure movies in Google, and they're saying like Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
That was not an adventure movie.
I don't want to classify that really as adventure. Dune, they are saying it's an adventure movie.
That's not an adventure
still
movie.
Don't feel like it is.
It's not adventure.
Uncharted, but that movie was terrible.
Uncharted that's a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
That is, the game is so amazing.
Yeah.
It's an adventure game, and the movie's awful.
We need to do an episode of like the best video game adaptations to the worst video game adaptation, especially now that The Last of Us is out.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's so good.
It is very good.
I just watched the second episode before you came in.
Me too. I watched it last night. It is so good.
Ready Player One, they're saying, is an adventure movie.
I don't know. That's not, I don't know.
Yeah, I get it.
The movie poster's not orange.
It's not. It's purple. It's purple.
It doesn't count.
But yeah, so man, I just really love these movies though. I mean, I remember watching The Mummy when it came out in the theaters and just loving it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, this really is the movie that launched Brendan Fraser's career.
This was his big one.
Yeah, because they had, like Airheads. What was the other one that we talked about?
Encino Man.
The one where with Christopher Walken and his dad, where they went into the bomb shelter and came out.
Oh yeah. That one.
Yeah, that one.
I know what you're talking about.
His first big role, obviously like Airheads and whatnot, I would say is his first big role. But then there was the commercial success of George of the Jungle.
That was it, yeah.
And he was yoked in that movie too. He got fucking swole.
Well, if you see him in Encino Man too, like he plays a caveman.
Man, yeah.
And he looks ripped in that one. But like George of the Jungle, I remember that. They're like, dang, dude. Like he was the sex model.
And it was great. And that's why he got casted as Rick O'Connell in the Mummy movies. And so
this was his big one.
And this also turned Rachel Weisz into an international star. She was very well known in Britain, but not really well known in America.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, because that's the next thing you got to talk about when talking about this movie is Brendan Fraser.
Oh,
because like who he is and his story, because he's making a comeback now.
100%
with The Whale,
and then he was Firefly in the Batgirl movie that got canceled.
Yeah, he was going to be in that one. That was going to be part of his comeback. But The Whale apparently is a huge deal, man. Like I saw the trailer for it. Have you seen the trailer?
Yes, I was supposed to go see it last week, but I wasn't able to.
Oh, is it in theaters now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I saw the trailer for it, and like the trailer itself almost made me cry. And I was like, this movie's gonna fuck
everybody,
me up, man.
is saying that you are going to cry in this.
But
movie.
you've heard about his story, right? Like
a little bit.
He was kind of the lighthearted action guy, comedy action guy, and he was rising star. And then the early 2000s, he just disappeared for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And now currently he's making a comeback.
Well, he's just always been considered like one of the nicest people ever, and he got basically blacklisted from Hollywood, and I don't know why.
I did. I looked it up.
Okay.
He was like sexually assaulted by like a big shot CEO guy, like in the movie industry.
He was?
He was, yes. Like,
oh, damn.
Yeah, he was just like Terry Crews and like obviously a lot of women that have gone through the same thing with the Me Too movement. And I think because of the Me Too movement, like he felt more comfortable talking about it recently. But that's why he was like assaulted by like one of the big shot guys in the industry, and he just kind of like pulled back into his own little cocoon. And
oh wow,
yeah, and he's he didn't do well for a lot of years, and now he's making a comeback. And he's talking about it
because he's also in the HBO superhero series, the DC.
Yes, Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol, yeah,
and he's supposed to be really good in that.
Yeah, and he's just a voice actor in that one, essentially. So,
but the thing is like his comedic timing, like he is. And The Mummy really does exemplify this. Where like
100%,
like the swagger that he has, the swashbuckling, the adventure, and the charm and the comedy
and
like,
the looks.
Yeah, I mean he's.
Have you seen that meme where it's like you can explain my sexuality by the cast of The Mummy, and it's a picture of like Rick O'Connell. It's like Rick O'Connell, Evie.
Jonathan, her brother.
No, not Jonathan, her brother. Emotep, Anaxunamun, and
the
Magi
the
guy.
warrior guy. Yeah,
what's his name?
He's gorgeous.
Oh, he's so hot.
Have you heard the behind the scenes thing with
Ardith Bay? There we go. The Magi guy. Yeah.
Where like he was supposed to be covered in tattoos from head to toe.
Yeah, and they're like, no, we're just gonna go ahead and give him a few because you can't cover up that gorgeous man.
The director said he was too good looking, and they're like, nah, keep that
because
face
period piece wise, this movie is actually somewhat correct. They did a lot of things for more thematic reasons, not be as 100% period correct. But like one of the things that actually is true is Egyptian King's Guardsmen would have tattoos to symbolize it. And they're like, no, we're just going to do like one under each eye and one on the forehead.
That's all you need.
And that's it. I'm like, that's all you need.
Dude is too good looking.
And Ardith Bay is a good looking man.
Ardith Bay. I should make that
Oded Fear, I think is how you say his last
real name. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to make that one of my trivia questions because I don't know if you know. All right. I got to think about that. I'm just making a note of that.
All right, cool.
So the story of the Mummy, it's just a great classic because I was thinking like, what's the story?
Yeah.
And it's a straightforward classic. It's like Rick is a former soldier. Well, it's like a French legionnaire or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he's in Egypt and he found the hidden city, like the city of the dead.
Yeah.
And he saw some like, weird stuff. He gets out of there. And I can't remember how
Hamanatra.
Yeah, I can't remember how Evie comes to find him.
So what happens is Jonathan, Evie's brother, who plays the comedic fool of the series, he steals the key that has the map in it from Rick O'Connell.
That's right.
So they go to jail to where Rick is.
Yeah, where he's being executed.
And, being executed and save him from it. And the deal is that that Rick O'Connell, Brendan Fraser's character, takes him to Hamanatra to figure out, the city of the dead to find the treasure of Hamanatra, which ends up being the mummy.
And they go, and there's other adventurers that are like racing them to it.
A bunch of American cowboys.
Yeah, and when they get there, they read from the book. They accidentally resurrect the mummy, and then he slowly gains his power back while they're trying to figure out how to stop him.
Yes.
And it ends with like other mummies that they're sword fighting, the beetles that are flesh eating. They're in the tomb. Things are crashing around them. I mean, it's classic.
It is. I mean, just all of it. And one of the things that I really like about it too is the beats don't make sense. Like the story beats don't make sense.
Okay.
Where it's not like, oh, they purposely did this, so then they're going to do this, right? It's like, oh, I accidentally stole this from Rick O'Connell.
Yeah.
I accidentally read the book to resurrect the mummy. Or it's like, little things like even with how the mummy interacts and things like that. It's like, it's accidents along the way that drive the plot line. And I feel that really is how you can describe adventure movies. Like, there isn't really like the call to action like there are in traditional action movies or even like fantasy movies and things like that. There's no call to action of the hero in adventure movies. It's just like, oh yeah, like I'm an archaeologist, and so like this just happens, and I happen to stumble upon it, and I'm the only one that can stop it, right? Like that's it.
Yeah, they're not, a lot of the adventure movies. They're not like the traditional, like, you know, overly masculine hero that's like just coming in, swooping in, saving the day. It's like they're kind of stumbling through the story.
Yeah.
But they do save the day.
Yes.
But because, you know, they're just, I don't know, whatever, they're fearless and brave or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just, my favorite scene in this movie was on the ship when they're on the riverboat.
Oh, yep.
And I just love, because they have the rival adventurers.
Yeah.
And they're all like, because you have like Rick, who is like, he's an adventurer. And you can tell, like, because every adventurer, you got to have like that tan and off-white like outfit that you're wearing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, you got like a leather jacket, you got like gun holsters. You know, he's got his like canvas roll up with just shotguns and
all the different guns.
It's a whole. I love that scene. I was like, that's so cool. I want one of those. But there's something about it's like the Wild West, like, you know, because there's no rules. You're in some place where there's just no rules. Because like if you do that like anywhere in the world today, it's like you will be arrested. Like you can't just carry a roll up full of guns and then shoot people. You know, it's like, but back in the day, like this is the 1920s in Egypt, and you know, it's like you can, you know, the crazy things happen. It's like the Wild West. Yep. And I love that. And they're on the ship with these guys, and there's just the rivalry, and there's a good-hearted rivalry, but they also are like legitimately rivals.
It's like what, $500 to whoever gets to Hamanatra first.
Yeah. And I love how like the other adventurers are like arrogant. They have this like big dick energy, like this bravado.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then on Rick's side, you have like Evie, you know, who is like a brilliant a scholar, and then you have her brother who's like a fool who, you know, I guess a good-hearted fool, you know.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, he steals everything, and it's like, you know, it's like, oh, this is my most prized treasure. And it's like, yeah, it's like, it's great because he's a comedic relief, so he's helping drive the plot along.
Yeah. And that's the one-up they have.
He's a
on
stumbling
the other
idiot.
Guys.
Yeah. They don't have a stumbling idiot.
Yeah, or the brilliant, you know, scholar, you know, in because I love how they took the Indiana Jones and they split him into two people.
Yes.
Because Indiana Jones is a brilliant scholar professor and a swashbuckling adventurer.
True.
But in this one, you broke them up into Rick and Evie.
Yeah. And that's one of the cool things too, where you see where, you know, Rick O'Connell isn't an idiot, right? Like he is smart. Like, you know, when he says things to Evie looks surprised by his responses. So I really liked that. But then also was like when the first time they go down in Hamanatra, Evie's teaching Rick how to be an archaeologist. Like, oh yeah, look at this, like the mirror trick and things like that. Or like, hey, like this is Anubis, this is Horus, this is yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And all these different ones. And I really like that because it shows in Rick's character arc. You see by the end of the movie or even by the end of The Mummy Returns that he has picked things up from Evie and vice versa.
And he's not like the academic scholar, but he's also not like a meathead either.
No,
like,
not at all.
He's clever.
Yes.
And that's what's cool about his characters. Like everything he does is really clever. But also he doesn't take anything seriously. Like
no, I mean, and this is an improv line that I think is one of the best scenes too. Is when they first encounter Imhotep and he screams at Rick and Evie.
Oh yeah, he does the monster scream.
Yeah, he does a monster scream, and Rick just screams right back at him. That was improv. Brendan Fraser just did it, and it was so perfect for his character. He's like, "You just gonna scream at me? Well, I'm just gonna scream right back at you." And then he does it again later on against all the temple guard.
Oh
mummies.
yeah, those.
And then like mouths open up. He's like, "Oh nope, never mind," and runs away.
Yeah, and I love how like you could tell like Evie's like trying to understand what's going on. Like I just awakened this ancient thing, and Rick's like, I got to shoot this with my shotgun. You know? And he does. He shoots the mummy. He shoots Imhotep so many times, and it works a lot of the times. Like it's enough to like where they can escape or whatever.
Yeah,
it
slows them down enough for them to escape.
Yeah, and I love how like the actual mystery of how they find stuff. So in a good adventure movie, there's got to be some clever way that you find the ancient city or some way that it's hidden or something. And in this movie, they have that, like, because it's in this like extinct volcano kind of like it's in and it because that's what the rock formation is. Like it's up around it, and so
okay, I see what you're saying.
Like you can't really see it in certain ways. You know, you got to be it's just like it's same thing when they get into the tombs and stuff like that. Like you can't just go there.
And
like,
it's like, oh, we're like they're waiting on like at the beginning of a desert.
Yeah.
Because the sun needs to show up to show them the way, because like it's how it lights up the ground. It's how you find Hamunaptra. Like,
Yeah.
that's a cool little like, it can't be just like, oh yeah, you ride east 20 miles and you find it's like, no, like the sun when it hits the sand a certain way shows you the path.
Yeah, and some kind of convincing way that it would be hidden for all this time.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, like this movie does a good job. Like it was genuinely ominous. Like it was like, there's some dark magic there. There's some, the way the sand was like forming his face or whatever. People are like, get out. And I love like when local people know something that like the foreigners don't get, because you have these American adventurers and they're just like, I'm here to save the day. But the locals are like, nah, dude, we don't mess with
you don't,
that.
you don't. And that's the Magi. It's like, we've been guarding this for 3,000 years. Like, we do not want, and they don't even call him the mummy or Imhotep, the creature.
Yeah, the creature.
The creature.
Because it's cursed to even say his name.
Yeah. And so they're like, we're here to guard that the creature just never resurrected.
There's and so when Imhotep gets resurrected, like that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Is like it's legitimately cool his transformation throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Because he starts out as like a fully CGI like dusty mummy, like a corpse. Like he's literally in pieces. You can see inside his skull.
Yeah.
And
it's visceral. It's kind of moist. Like,
yeah.
And they even talk about that where it's like he looks like he's still been preserved, even though he's like 2,000, 3,000 years old.
Yeah. Apparently, like the behind the scenes stuff that was in the novelization I read about this, were like the Beatles were like sacred, and he as a holy man was sacred. And so something about like when they in the lore, like they put him in the tomb and then they poured the beetles on him.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently like the beetles were eating him. And so that would give them life force, but then he would eat the beetles and that would give him life force.
Oh, interesting.
And so part of that, it wasn't just a way of killing him. It was a way of like giving him like eternal torment.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And so that was some of the behind the scenes that didn't make into the movie, where like that's why his corpse is still kind of fresh.
That possibly he was,
because there's still life in him.
Them, gotcha.
Yeah, because of the beetles and that reciprocate. It's like a demented version of the circle of life.
Okay, yeah.
And
that would suck.
But like over time, like they did a great job of like he transforms a little bit more into human, but not quite, and even when he's in his like played by the actor, he's still got like his jaw
Arnold
missing.
Vosloo.
Yeah. And he's amazing. And I was like, this is super creepy, man.
And you see the beetle crawl around him and go in the hole in his cheek, and he bites down to eat it.
Yeah. But it's those horror elements. We don't want to overstate them because it's not like a horror movie, but it does have those elements where it's like, this is genuinely he's like sucking people dry, like sucking their life force out of them. And when he took that one guy's eyes and now he has eyes, it's like
eyes and tongue. Yeah. And what's cool too is a lot of the time as well, I mean, the CGI wasn't there, right? Like the Mummy is one of the most impressive CGI things of the 90s because of how well it is done. Like it doesn't hold up now, but when you think about 1999, like you're like, oh man, like this is really good. And
it was like motion capture stuff where like they used the actor.
Yeah, but they couldn't at the time. The actor wasn't there. Like, so now what you do is like you could just have somebody in a mocap suit and you paint them out. Yeah. And then you replace them. Back then, you couldn't do that. We didn't have the technology to do that just yet.
It was that early stuff. Yeah.
So Brendan Fraser, all the times you see him fighting CGI mummies, there's nobody there. He had to like basically solo dance and like memorize choreography.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I really liked about
when he's sword fighting and
when
stuff?
He's sword fighting, there's nobody there.
That's awesome.
He's just swinging at air.
But he sells it, man.
And he sells it. And even in The Phantom Menace, which also came out in 1999, like the scenes when Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan are fighting droids, there's nobody there. And it's kind of cool because it kind of sells it for Jedi, but we're not talking about that. Anyways, The Mummy. And that's one of the cool things where it's like, man, like that the actors had to react to nothing. Yeah. Right? Like now, like when you think about the Avengers and Thanos, you had
they're all in there.
What's his name as Thanos?
Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Josh Brolin as Thanos. He was there.
He's just got the ping pong balls on his face.
And he's talking with the actors and interacting with them. So the actors had something to go off of. Back then, no. Brendan Fraser had to do it all in his mind.
Yeah, and you see like there's a good mix of that because a lot of it is like filmed on location. Like they weren't in Egypt because there was some political turmoil.
Morocco.
Yeah,
a lot of it was Morocco.
And so they're in like these real city streets or like in a real set where it's like this underground tomb, and then you have like CGI, the sword fighting other mummies, his lieutenants or whatever they were, and like that's the thing. Like it legitimately does not hold up today. You watch it today, and you're like, yeah, this is not impressive at all. But that's part of the charm because you're like, it's so adorable.
It's so campy.
Like in '99, that was the best they could do, and you're like, aw,
it's like,
look at you. Yes,
and it's so great, and that's one of the things I really liked about it too. Even the final fight scenes. I mean, Arnold Vosloo as Imhotep did such a good job, and in interviews he talked about it where he didn't want to just be another creature, right? Because you have to realize the Mummy is a part of the old school Universal Studios monsters.
Yeah, technically this is a remake
of what 1933's something like that. Yeah. The Mummy. And so he was like, and instead of just being another monster, he's like, I think Imhotep is just a romantic. So he played Imhotep like Romeo and Juliet.
Like he's a tragedy.
Yeah, he's doing all this for love. And even some of the greatest depictions of Dracula is played like that too, where he's just a hopeless romantic and will do anything for the love of his life.
Yeah, like if you that's what's cool about this movie, because Rick is like this lighthearted guy who he's just like, whatever, I'm having fun. And then Evie is like, she's very intelligent, but she's kind of bumbling at times. And then Jonathan, her brother, is like, he's the fool who's also, but the Mummy, like Imhotep, he is playing it serious throughout from top to bottom.
He's considered the straight man.
Yeah,
and that's a term for in.
Yeah, where the others are playing off of him. And that's how you do this movie right. You can't have the villain be goofy or not serious. You have to be the villain as if he's in a serious movie.
And the villain is there to fuck shit up. Like the villain in adventure movies is always somehow more powerful than everybody else.
Yeah.
And there has to be some type of MacGuffin to destroy him, whether it be,
this one it was the book, I guess.
The book, the Book of the Dead or the Book of Life. Technically it's the Book of Life because the Book of Life kills, the Book of Dead resurrects.
Yeah, that was a neat twist. Yeah.
So there is that kind of stuff, which I thought was cool in it. But man, like just the story building in this, like understanding like the little things. There's like of course they open up with the monologue read by Ardith Bey, the Magi guy. Like who is Imhotep? What is going on? And after that, though, like all the little beats that they give you to understand elements of the story is just so perfect. Where you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, there on the boat scene, right? There's like this whole like shootout scene and whatnot, and the bullets are coming closer and closer to like Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
and he's reloading, so he's not seeing it, but Evie is. So Evie grabs and pulls him. It's like two bullets go in the wall to where he was, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, so you're seeing that like Evie as well, even though she's a scholar, like she has like situational awareness and things like that.
So that is the heart of this movie, and I think this is the number one reason that makes this movie work is Rick and Evie.
Yeah,
because they have this adorable, they have perfect chemistry. It's adorable. And it's not your typical like damsel in distress who is also kind of like bitchy towards the hero and it's not that. Like she's genuinely here to go on an adventure and to do work in her field, and he's and they work really well together.
Yes. And one of the things that there is that transformation too, because the first times that Evie, or Evelyn is really her name, Evie sees Rick is when he's in prison. So he has like long hair, scruffy, he's dirty.
Yeah.
He like punches people, he kisses her. So her perception
he's
of
a scoundrel.
him is that he's a scoundrel. He's a buffoon, he's an idiot, he's just hired muscle.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about that. And then Rick comes up on the scene behind him the next scene, and he's like, he's in like a nice military uniform. He has a good haircut. He's clean shaven.
Yeah.
And also he's like, oh, who are you talking about? And it's like, oh, that's him. And it's like, oh, like, so like you see that too in like the way they impress one another.
Yeah, because he's more clever than she thought, and she's more brave than he thought.
Yeah.
And she ends up, and she's not your typical like female protagonist in a lot of these movies, especially in the 90s.
No, technically she is considered the damsel in distress because Imhotep is trying to use her.
Yeah. Yeah.
to resurrect Anck-su-namun, his love.
But even still, like throughout the movie, she has so many moments of courage and bravery too.
She's not the helpless damsel in distress.
Yes, I mean she gets into trouble, but they all kind of get into trouble. And and if Rick didn't have to save her, then Rick actually wouldn't have anything to do in this movie.
I mean that's kind of the whole entire point. So
it's fantastic. It is so fun. It is so much fun. And I would tell people, if you haven't seen The Mummy from '99, you should definitely sit down and watch it and just have a good time and enjoy it.
It's a popcorn movie. You know, sit down with a friend, a significant other, or by yourself. Just get a bowl of popcorn and enjoy a perfect movie.
Yeah, just a fun. You got to be fun and lighthearted, and let it be what it is. Which brings us to the second one, the sequel.
Second one, and this is where the trilogy ended. Was on this one.
The Mummy Returns. I mean, they made this. This was what, like 2 years later.
This is 2000. Let's see here, 2001. So 2 years later. Yeah,
and it's that perfect. That early 2000s, like it's got this vibe. So the one thing we should say, so I was watching it again the other day, and I was like, dude, this is so much. The Mummy Returns is so much fun. Oh yeah, the sequel is just as good, but there's a big but.
Okay,
so the special effects are like clearly worse.
Okay, so there is a scorpion in the room that we need to talk about.
The scorpion in the room we gotta talk about.
So the ending of this movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as the Scorpion King, and he's like a centaur scorpion. He's half man. He's like man from the waist up and giant scorpion from the waist down.
He's got 4 pinchers. He's got pinchers at his arms and at his waist.
It is considered the worst CGI of any movie
ever.
It is famously bad.
It is terrible.
So once again, we've talked about, and I've been very adamant how much I don't like the use of CGI in movies. I think it's overused and it's used as a crutch rather than an enhancement. This movie, the artist did come out and said that they had to start the CGI like 8 days before the movie was supposed to be released.
Yeah, apparently it was like super rushed.
Yeah, so it got super rushed.
Well, the Scorpion King gets all the fame for being terrible, but there's a lot of other
There's
terrible.
a lot of other bad CGI.
There's those Anubis guys, those like wolf guys, like the Army of the Undead. Those guys are awful. Yeah,
they don't look good either.
They look terrible.
But that entire scene, that last third of that movie, they had to do in 8 days.
Yeah,
or like finished 8 days before.
That's insane.
It's just. And this is once again studios not giving enough time to the artist to make something look good.
Yeah.
Because we just did this, 2 episodes ago talking about Avatar. When you give the artist enough time, it looks dope.
Yeah. Well, I go back on that. That's actually part of the charm of the movie. Because like if you haven't seen the Mummy Returns, like that's a famous scene when that Scorpion King, when Dwayne Johnson comes out as the Scorpion King. If you haven't seen that, you've got to see that. You have to experience that and all of its terrible glory because it's famous. And because of that, because it's so bad, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, it's so bad. I mean, honestly, the worst part is when Imhotep is being dragged down into the lava by like all the half bodies and souls or whatever. I'm like, it doesn't even, that looks worse than anything. But we got to talk about my favorite part of this movie, though. I'm just going to go straight into it.
Do it, baby.
The fact that Ardith Bey, the Magi guy, gets so much more screen time, and he's such a fucking badass.
Yeah.
I legitimately have been trying to find a way to make a D&D character based off Ardith Bey. I'm not kidding you, because I'm like, well, is he a ranger? Is he a rogue? Is he a fighter? Well, he's a ranger because he has Horus, which is his eagle companion.
Yeah.
Was that one of your trivia questions?
No.
Okay.
But I'm remembering things that I want to say.
Yeah. And it's like, all this stuff. It's like, man, I'm like, he's just, and he's so goddamn beautiful.
He is. It's funny because I know he's gone on to do a lot of stuff too, but like that character could have been the main character of movies. And it's funny because talking about the Scorpion King, it got spinoffs.
Yes.
And I don't know if you knew this. There are 5.
God damn it. That was one of my trivia questions.
There are so many.
I literally was like, how many Scorpion King movies have there been? 5.
It's terrible.
5. Yeah.
I saw The Scorpion King. Did you see the movie The Scorpion King?
Honestly, I'm really upset because this morning I thought we should have done the whole trilogy and called it Mummy Returns Scorpion King.
Yeah.
Because Scorpion King is not a good movie.
No.
In any way, shape, or form.
No.
But it's fun.
Yes.
Like The Mummy and The Mummy Returns are good movies that are also fun.
Yes.
The Scorpion King is just a
It's not that good.
No, because it turns the complete opposite of Rick O'Connell, right? The Scorpion King is a meathead,
Yes.
right? He's just there to fuck shit up
And it takes place in ancient times.
and fuck women.
So it's what's called a sword and sandals movie.
Yes.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Like Conan the Barbarian or
Barbarian.
something. Like it's that kind of and people were talking about that, him being the next Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to give him his own Conan the Barbarian movie, and that's what this
It was supposed to be.
It just wasn't that interesting, but it's fun because The Rock he's all in.
He is all in.
Like he puts his soul into this.
and
it's
also
so hard
he was
to watch.
the bad guy in the second movie, but he's the good guy.
He's the hero. He's the hero. But if that's not The Rock though.
Yeah.
Just like Black Adam, where it's like he's a villain. What are you doing?
Black Adam is not a villain.
Yeah, but he is.
I would not classify Black Adam as a villain.
All right, fine. Scorpion King's not a villain. How about that?
No, he is. But he literally sells his soul to the god of death.
Dude, when Anubis takes his soul and like in The Mummy Returns,
oh yeah,
and like it comes out of his body, that looked like something straight out of like an old Mortal Kombat movie. I was like, this is so bad.
Oh man. But man, so watching The Mummy Returns, this is the first time I've watched The Mummy and The Mummy Returns in a critical way, right? Like that's the whole entire point of Banter and Such is we do watch our media for an episode a little bit more critically.
Yeah.
And sometimes that sucks, but sometimes it's fun.
Well, we analyze it.
And so this made me realize something. Watching The Mummy and The Mummy Returns made me realize how bad the new trilogy of Star Wars is. And I keep talking about it, but this tacked on another thing.
We got it, yeah.
Okay,
we're working through our hurt.
Yeah,
man.
no joke. So The Mummy and The Mummy Returns has a lot of similarities, but they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? So
a lot of mirroring.
Mirroring,
Yeah.
right? It's not the exact same story being told like it was in Star Wars The New Trilogy.
But they mirror elements, but with a new twist.
Okay, so Jonathan is the one that steals the key that gets the map that starts the adventure in the first one. And he calls it his most prized possession.
Yeah.
In The Mummy Returns, he steals the golden scepter and calls it his most prized possession.
Yeah.
Okay, so boom, you see mirroring, right? Like, and it is with the character that he does this. He steals something, and it's the MacGuffin that starts the adventure, right? So there's that. As well as there is a scene in The Mummy when Brendan Fraser, Rick O'Connell's fighting, and he uses a headbutt to disarm somebody.
Yeah, and it's a you notice that move.
And Evie does it in The Mummy Returns and literally then says, well, I learned that from your father.
Yeah, it's a wonderful little mirror there.
And in the end, and this is a trivia question, so I won't say everything yet, there is a scene when Alex, their son, is talking with Jonathan, and it is a mirror from the first movie as well.
Okay.
So it's like, this is a way to do it. Like you're doing callbacks, you're doing throwbacks for people to notice things. But it's not just the exact same fucking story like it was with Star Wars Episode 7, A New Hope Re-Begins.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too, because even the Star Wars movies are more of a serious tone, even though they're not serious movies. But The Mummy is, like, it's lighthearted fun.
Yes.
So it's more forgivable in that sense where you're like, okay, they're going to like mimic some stuff from the first movie. That's fun. That's a fun callback. It's a fun, these adventure beats that they go on. Of course, and they're in a tomb again, all that stuff. But like in a Star Wars movie, it's like, guys, come on.
Yeah. They just basically did the exact same story from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And just renamed people rather than doing cool beats. Like, I'll give it like I think it was in episode 8 when Rey and Kylo are talking on the elevator, like that was a mirror to Luke and Vader on the elevator going to see. I was like, that's cool. Like that's a good way. Like you're doing a throwback. It's its own scene, but you see the parallel.
Yeah.
Not just being like, oh, it's the exact same fucking
You know
movie.
what? We're going to have to do...
No!
We're going to have to do a sequel trilogy episode. We got to work through this, man. This is our counseling
it's
session.
Like, it made me realize, like, Steven Sommers, even though he did nothing good besides these two movies...
For real! That blows me away.
It shows me, though, that, like, he hit it, and he did a really good job, though, with these two.
Yeah, and, man, it's like, just as fun as the first one, and it's that same vibe. I mean, because the story essentially is they resurrect, the cultists resurrect Imhotep so that he can kill the Scorpion King, and then they can take over Anubis's army of the dead.
Yes.
And then with that army, they can conquer
the world.
Which... doesn't make sense.
No.
Because it's like, well, clearly Emotep is gonna do that. He's gonna take it from you, you idiot. And so once again, they get called into action to go, and now they're not just stopping Emotep. Now they have to stop the Scorpion King.
And that's a classic trope where the cultists resurrect their god, and they think that the god is going to spare them in the destruction of the world. And there's a scene too where the high priest gets captured by the Scorpion King. He's like, "Save me!" And Emotep's like, "Why?"
Yeah.
He literally says, he's like, "Why?"
Yeah. It's wonderful. And so the whole stuff in London, because there's that first act that takes place in London, which is a great setting for an adventure movie, because there's something about London that just...
And like old school London, because this takes place in the 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, where the cultists are resurrecting him, that's a great set piece. In the O'Connell's mansion, in Rick and Evelyn's mansion, there's a whole action scene in their mansion and stuff, which, by the way, I love that they are together. They are a couple.
Yes.
They've been married. They have a son. And the fact that they live in a mansion. Because they're successful adventurers.
Well, because you see at the end of the first movie when they're walking away from Hamanatra, that what was it? What was the guy's name? The little minion guy. I can't remember his name in the first one. That serves Emotep. But remember,
the little asshole guy.
Yeah, he was Benny.
Yeah, Benny. Yeah.
When he was taking gold out, he was putting on the camel.
Yeah.
And then he went back in, and because of his greed, he went back into his death. But when they're riding away, they see that all that gold that Benny got was on the back of the camel.
That's one of the things that I hate so much about like sequels, is that like they don't if the characters were successful in the first movie and they survived, it's like, dude, why is he like, this isn't Spider-Man. Spider-Man's supposed to always be down on his luck.
Yes.
It's like, why? Of course these guys are now rich or famous or whatever now. And like this movie does that well. Like she's a famous, like they have museums wanting to get her and all this stuff. It's like, that's because they all know of her success and fame. It's like, that's brilliant. That's so fun. That's a part of the characters. Like, now we're big shot, famous adventurers, and we have this beautiful, wonderful life. But yet again, we get sucked back into the deserts of Egypt on this dangerous mission, and it's like,
and they even said, it's like, fun. Emotep's risen. Classic. Yeah. It's going to destroy the world. They're doing that one again. Like, they even joke about it a little bit. Which
she says, I'll put you in your grave again. I'm like, it's so badass. Evelyn is so great. And so even that character, like in this first one, when you introduce, because in the first movie, they first introduced her at the library. She's knocking over all the bookshelves.
And then when they introduce the son, to continue with my theory, he knocks over all the pillars.
Yeah. But with Evelyn, she's in the tomb by herself, unearthing hieroglyphs, and a snake comes up on her. She just kicks it out of the way. It just shows. It's like, yes, look at her. She's an adventurer on her own now. And the whole Rick and Evelyn thing, it's just, that's my favorite part of this movie, because they're an adventurer duo.
Even in the first one, she does say that she wants to like go to a college or university to learn, and they keep saying, well, you don't have enough field experience. Now look at her 10 years later with all this field experience.
She's got more field experience than anyone else. She's an expert. Yeah. And that's so much fun. You just fall in love with those characters. They're so charming. They're so adorable. You just love them, man.
And so this one adds a little bit of a plot to it that I'm not sure. I do like it. I'm not sure if I really think it fits the film, but the fact that they're both now always destined to be together, because she's the reincarnation of the Pharaoh's daughter that Imhotep and Anaxuna Moon killed in the first one. Yeah. And Brendan Fraser is the chosen magi and things like that. So I get it. Like, you were destined to be together. You were always destined to kill the Scorpion King. And there's, this divine prophecy. Yeah. That, some adventure movies and a lot of movies do end up having. And that's a little bit more of the hero's journey. The hero's journey is always, he was destined to do this. This is where the call to action comes from. So they kind of add it in the second one.
But they don't go too far into that.
Not enough to where I feel like it kind of destroys the adventure feel to it.
It's almost like they say that as an excuse to keep going in the movie.
Yeah, because in adventure movies, and kind of to think about it a little bit more, it's always like it's normal people taking on a supernatural, or not necessarily like means like supernatural, but like
something way
divine,
over their head.
Mystic, culty and things like that. It's always about a natural, like a normal person taking it. And this one, I guess they're still normal. It's just
they're normal,
just prophesied.
Yeah, and I love the fact too that like they're both like so horny for each other.
Oh yeah,
that they keep neglecting their son, and he keeps getting like
we got to go make out after killing all these mummies, but it's okay, we're fine.
In the background, he's like getting into danger and stuff, and they're just like looking deeply into each other's eyes. I'm like, this is so awesome. I love it.
And this brings up a point that I wanted to talk about. So, eventually at the end, they face the Scorpion King. Rick O'Connell, of course, kills the Scorpion King, but they both fall into that pit of damned souls, and the pits, the damned souls are trying to drag them down. And this is a very big moment because you see Imhotep and Rick O'Connell, and they're struggling to get out of this pit.
Yeah.
And what does Rick say to Evie? No, don't come. Save yourself.
Yeah.
Take our son Alex, run and get out of there. And what does she do? She runs towards Rick.
Yeah.
To prove your point, that's like ignoring the kid. The temple is collapsing. She's like, nope, I'm going to save my husband.
The son's got crushed legs under a giant megalithic stone.
And she's running towards him. And it's like, okay, and helps him up. And then Imhotep looks at Noxuna Moon. And what does he say? He says, help me. And what does she do?
She runs away.
She runs away. And you know what?
To save herself.
The face that Imhotep makes is you can tell he's thinking this.
This bitch, this bitch, this bitch, this bitch.
So if you don't know that, that's Smoking Out the Window by Silk Sonic, which is like Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. And I pulled that up just for this. But it's like, dude, like it's like this bitch. I've literally dedicated both my life and my afterlife and all my resurrections to bringing you back because I love you that much. And the first time that things are going awry, you run away.
Yeah.
This bitch.
Well, Noxuna Moon, so she's the mummy's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she's back in this movie. She was in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have to say, she is super hot, dude.
Once again, you can define my sexuality by the cast of The Mummy.
Like in the first movie, like she's wearing nothing but body paint. And it is hot, man.
Yeah.
I remember like watching this as a kid. I was like, damn.
As a kid?
Well, I guess I was like
well into your 50s.
I was a full-grown adult. I remember watching this in my retirement. I was like,
yeah. Well,
God damn.
In 1999, how old were you really?
I think I just turned 50.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
I was 10.
You were 10. So I was at the end of my sexuality, and you were at the beginning. Of yours.
Yeah. Trust me, man. The Mummy was very pivotal for me.
Noxuna Moon cured my erectile dysfunction.
She cured ED. If you're ever suffering from ED, Dr. Brando over here.
This is before Viagra, and you just had to watch sexy movies. And I was like,
here's a prescription for The Mummy.
Yeah, my doctor said, like, hey, dude, you need to check out a Noxuna Moon.
Yeah.
And I was like, what medicine is that? I was like, nah, dude.
Trust me.
It's this chick with body paint.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I could choose two to have a baby, it'd be a Noxuna Moon and Ardith Bay. Like, that child would take over the world with how gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Yeah. But I mean, and they're all back in the movie, and it's just it's fun, man. It's fun, and you have some new characters too, because like Izzy. It wasn't Izzy with the airship.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't in the first one, was
no,
he?
because they had the old guy that wanted to die. Remember, he had the old grizzled veteran.
Yes.
And he was an airplane fighter in World War I, and like all his friends died in it, and he was just left alive.
Yeah.
And that's how they convinced him. It's like, is it going to be dangerous? He's like, you probably won't make it out alive. He's like, let's go.
Yeah. And so Izzy was the guy in the second one. He wasn't as charming as the guy in the first one, but he had that airship, and that was just such a cool thing. Like where it's like this old boat that was underneath, like just a big blimp looking thing, and with a propeller in the back.
Zeppelin. It's literally a Zeppelin.
Yeah, and I was like, that's such a cool. That's just fun. I don't know, like, and of course they get in the canyon, and the Mummy does the thing in the second one. Because in the first one he does the big wall of sand with his face in it, but in the sequel it's a wall of water with his face. It was like, that was fun, man. That was just good.
Oh, it's so good.
And then they're on top of this boat, like looking out onto the desert at night. I was like, that's so cool, man.
And even then, like, even the villains in this one, I feel like were a little bit more well thought out. So, I mean, you had Mr. Echo from Lost as Lochna.
Oh, yeah.
And
he was fantastic.
He was a great villain in this one. And even to the point where Alex, their son, is annoying him. And then he like takes out the dagger and like stabs it right between his fingers. And Alex goes, "Oh my God, look at that. Perfect accuracy." He's like, "What do you mean? I miss." And I was like, "Oh, yes."
That was a great dynamic.
He wants to murder this kid.
Between this like villain henchman and the son.
Yeah.
And the son, like, he wasn't annoying, which is a big thing with the kid actors in a lot of these movies. Like, they get on your nerves. The son was like, he was actually cute. Like, and he was a little adventurer, you know, like when he pulls up the toilet off that train and he like jumps out of that hole. Like he just like he's the son of Rick and Evelyn, you know, and
they wrote that character really well to show that. Like you see parts of Rick in him, and you see parts of Evelyn in him too, where it's not like, oh, he's just a kid. It's like, no, you see like in the first scene when he has no fear of these bandits, of adult men with guns and swords, and is shooting a slingshot at them.
Yeah.
Right. He has like no fear that way, but so he gets that from Rick. You see like he knows hieroglyphics, he knows like ancient Egyptian lore, and he gets that from Evie. So you see there's this perfect level of it, but they also play him like a kid because he's like, ooh, shiny bracelet, puts it on.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know. So apparently like this kid, like he was a huge fan of the first Mummy movie from 99.
Oh, really?
And like he had watched it like just as a kid watching a movie, and he had watched it so much, like he memorized the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they hired him to be on this movie, like he was actually, they would like use him as an expert of the first movie. Like when they're asking like production questions, because he knew all the lore, he knew all the lines, he knew the first movie so well. And so the little kid, and apparently he was offered a role in Harry Potter. Because Harry Potter came out the same year, the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
And he was going to be in Hogwarts and everything, which is a big deal. And he turned it down.
For the Mummy
He
Returns.
was such a nerd for the Mummy.
So badass.
That's awesome, dude.
Did you hear about the history of how this movie was made, though? How the series was made?
No.
So it was in development hell. They actually originally wanted The Mummy to be rebooted in the 80s.
Okay.
And then
That's
didn't
probably
happen.
like just a horror movie, probably.
So check this out. So can you guess what director, and it was a horror director that they wanted to film the reboot of The Mummy in the early 80s.
Yeah. Was it like John Carpenter or somebody?
No, you're close. It's Romero.
Oh,
right?
Really?
Yeah, because it kind of fits the theme, right? Like mummies and zombies are kind of close.
Because they are technically zombies, I guess. Yeah.
Then apparently there was a script, or at least like they started a script, and it was too dark.
Yeah.
Like way too dark.
So it was like a Romero horror movie. Okay.
So they're like, okay, how about we give it to somebody else?
Yeah.
And they gave it to another director. Do you want to guess who? Another horror director.
Oh, I don't know.
Clive Barker from Hellraiser.
Wow.
So they're like, hey, Romero wrote a too dark of a movie.
That's even darker.
They go to the director and writer of Hellraiser.
So we go to hell, right?
Yeah.
And the mummy's having his skin flayed off his bodies.
And you see every visceral detail.
Yeah, it's like, and it ends up with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz.
Yeah. So it's like, it's so weird. And as well, fun fact, this might be a trivia question for you. They did a bunch of auditioning for people to play Rick O'Connell.
Yeah, I did see that, where they offered it to like everyone.
Everybody. Nobody said it, and they ended up going with Brendan Fraser because they thought they were getting basically an A celeb.
Yeah.
For a B tier celeb's
cheap,
price, because they knew
he
from
wasn't
George of the
super
Jungle.
big at the time.
But do you know who they originally offered it to?
I read that it was like Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt, yeah,
was on there, and
Tom Cruise.
Tom
Which,
Cruise,
funny enough, about 20 years later,
yeah,
he was in the reboot of that.
You know, that's what's crazy is like this is a Tom Cruise movie with a real budget. He did The Mummy, and no one talks about this. That movie just disappeared.
It was terrible.
And the old Brendan Fraser movies are still remembered to this day, are still talked about. It just shows you like how much better those movies are.
Yeah, and funny enough to talk about that. So there's this great little, not really, a diner. I'm going to call it a diner.
All right.
Here in Nashville called Dino's.
Oh, yeah.
Classic place. Really good burger. It's just like one grill, flat top. And there's always a line. And they have a joke where they have like 50 VHSs of The Mummy. And like people bring in a VHS of The Mummy, they put it and add it to the collection.
I
It's
didn't
like,
know that.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's great. And I walked in, I was like, why? They're like, why not? It's a great movie.
Yeah, because that's the thing, man. It's not like if we're talking Lord of the Rings, you know, we're talking about it in serious tone. This is awe and reverence.
Yeah.
This is Tolkien. This is, you know, if you're talking like, you know, Jaws or Aliens, you know, it's like, dude, these are like some of the best like art cinema ever created, right? Citizen Kane. When you're talking The Mummy, it's like we all know it's not like high art cinema. It's not trying to be.
No.
It's just so fun. Like there's something about these movies that it gives you permission to just enjoy it. Like it's not that great, but that's what makes it that great.
No, and honestly, and that's what I really like it is when they were done filming it, they thought it was going to be a financial flop.
Yeah.
Like they're like, hey, we're it's done. We're just going to release it. And I think like the budget was like $80 million to make the movie.
So I read about that.
Okay.
The original budget was $15 million.
For the first Mummy.
For the first Mummy movie.
Okay.
And the director made this pitch to the Hollywood guys, and he's like, dude, it's going to be this adventure movie, and it's going to be like Indiana Jones. And from that, he left that meeting, and they had decided to up the budget to $80 million. Dude,
oh, wow.
What a fucking meeting. Can you imagine being in that? Like, that dude can, like, lead a meeting. That's a pitch meeting right there. Like, what vision do you have that you could walk in and sit down at a conference room table
Oh, my gosh.
and come away with like 65 million more dollars? That's
Dude,
incredible.
all right, so you want... I literally just... Hold on, sorry.
That dude was having a good day. I'm just
Yeah.
put yourself in that guy's shoes. Like, he came out of there. He went to like a fucking steakhouse that night, man. He was like, "We're celebrating, baby."
Let's go. So I'm not sure. I remember reading that The Mummy, the first one, made like $450 million in the box office.
Which is really good.
really good.
In the
Hold
late
on,
90s,
let me make sure. The Mummy box office.
Yeah, it was something like 450 million.
sales.
Like,
Let me just make sure because I want to. $410 million.
that is amazing numbers.
in 1990.
Yeah.
Dude, and you have to realize that this came out around the same time as Phantom Menace.
Yes.
And it was a #1 box office when Phantom Menace was out.
Yeah, this was right before
Yeah.
the next Star Wars
So
movies, man.
if let's say that this movie came out in 2023,
yeah,
okay, and equivalent money was made
like adjusted for inflation. Uh-huh.
that $410 million would be $730 billion.
Wait, what? No. You're not reading that right.
I'm not reading it right. $730 million.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah.
That is
730 and a half.
any movie that makes that money, you're like, yep, this is a hit.
$730 million right now. Off the 80 million. So let's see. Yeah, I mean that's insane. That's just insane.
I mean, they made bank on this movie, and it was a hit. It just showed how like they were like, we're gonna get these like not A-list stars, and we're gonna with a not A-list director.
Yeah,
but somebody had a vision. Somebody wrote a script and made a film, and they had a vision for it, and it turned out to be. And people saw it and were like, hey, this is fun, man.
Yeah.
I need this in my life. And I feel like we need more stuff like this. We don't need stuff that's so heavy. I mean, we need it.
Yes.
But it can't all be so heavy and so
I feel
dark.
like we say that almost every single episode of Banter and Such.
We do, man.
You know, it's like I watched Euphoria.
Yeah.
I finally cracked because everyone told me it's amazing.
Oh, you finished it?
And I finished it.
Yeah.
Ridiculously good.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the best TV I've watched in a long time.
Uh-huh.
But I do not want every single thing to be like that.
Yeah.
It is heart-wrenching. It is hard to watch. I've said it. My thing is, if I watch TV, I want to disassociate.
Yeah.
I want to be removed. And The Mummy does that.
Well, like we were just talking about The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Like the first 2 episodes of The Last of Us are out as of this recording. I watched them both. They are so good.
Yeah.
But holy shit, dude. Like it's a gut punch, man.
I finish every single episode of The Last of Us with sweaty armpits.
Yeah. And I have to watch something else to make me feel happy. But The Mummy is a perfect, like we need both. We need both.
So before we get into trivia, is there any last things you want to say?
No, dude, we covered it, man.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Go watch it. They're
Like if
great.
you're listening to this and you haven't seen it, go watch it.
All right, so I have 2 questions for you.
All right.
Scale 1 to 5,
Ooh.
both these movies.
Ooh.
That's
ooh,
question number 1.
Ooh, I would give both of them the same score.
Okay.
Despite the CGI being so terrible
bad.
in the second one.
But yeah.
But I'd give them a solid 4.
4 out of 5?
Yeah, 4 out of 5.
I'm like a 4.3, 4.4 for
right.
both of them.
Heck yeah, man.
Now, my second question, if you could only watch either The Mummy or The Mummy Returns,
oh.
you could. So there's other movies. I'm not saying it's the only movie you could ever watch for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But let's say you could only watch one of those 2. So every single time you wanted to watch The Mummy, you could only watch one of them. Which one would it be?
The Scorpion King.
I think so. I think I'm in the Scorpion King too.
Obviously, that was a joke. No, my serious answer, it would be the first one.
Oh no! See, I'm The Mummy Returns.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just like that riverboat scene. It was just, I don't know.
When you said Scorpion King, I thought you meant The Mummy Returns. I didn't. I was like, oh wait,
No.
sorry, that was a great gag, and I just did not.
The
pick
Scorpion
up on
King 3.
that. Oh, God, isn't that with Randy Couture, the UFC fighter?
Something like that. Some sad, washed up actors.
Sure.
It's like, hey, man, I'm glad you're working.
All right.
It's trivia time.
Don't say it. It's not a sad day. It's not a sad day. It's a great day. It's a great. I know. To say it, back away from the mic, Owen. It's a great ass day. I won last week.
Oh my gosh! So, Brando, you know me so well. I mean, even Puck was saying this, on the Master Debaters episode, where he's like, the way you guys do things, it's like so. Like, because you do it the exact same way. I'm like, yeah, every single time I have to spin the wheel.
We have our rhythm.
It's a sad day here at the Helios Network.
What was the score last week?
5-4.
We did House of the Dragon.
Yeah. The guys with 20 sides.
I barely beat you out. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, I got to spin this wheel.
All right, I'm going to take a video for our Instagram and Twitter.
Yep. Here you go. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hot sauce. We haven't had hot sauce in a while.
It's been a while.
So let's we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. So the habanero hot sauce that I made is officially run out. So today I am doing the Mule Kick, which is the company that made our stickers for Banter and Such and Wasted Truth.
All right, tell me when to go.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, man.
I did cut it with a little water to make it a little less viscous, to make it go down easier.
Oh,
God! Oh, Twisted Tea saved me. Oh, thank you, tweet. Oh, woo! All right,
check out our Instagram and Twitter to see a video of.
All right, I'm gonna ask the first question.
All right, I only have 4.
I got a lot, so here we go.
All right,
Brando.
Yeah, baby.
A Nox and a Moon is said. That name is said like 80 million times in the first movie.
Yeah.
Because it's like Imhotep, the only line I think he ever says is a Nox and a Moon.
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
Oh, shit.
There are 2 dashes in it, and I will not count the dashes.
I don't even think it's Anak Sunamoon. I think it was like Ankh Sunamoon. I'm going to say like ANHK.
Already wrong.
ANAHNK.
Already wrong.
ANUK.
Already wrong.
ANAK.
Nope. Anaxunamun. ANCKSUNAMUN.
Yeah, see, like Anaxunamun. Yeah.
Anaxunamun.
I was way off.
Ugh.
All right. I only have 4, but I'm proud of my 4.
Okay.
All right. Rachel Weisz's character, Evelyn, was based on a real life person. Okay. This real life person was the daughter of an adventurer who made this famous real life discovery in the early 1900s. And actually, the real life person was actually there for it. Like, the real Evelyn was there for it. So she's based on a real character. The real Evelyn is the daughter of a real adventurer, and he made this famous discovery in the early 1900s.
Oh, God. What's his name? The famous writer guy.
Well, what was the discovery?
Oh, you asked for the discovery.
Yeah. I mean, he was like a real life adventurer archaeologist guy.
The tomb where Jesus died. I don't know.
You were close. King Tut's tomb.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And she was there for that. The real Evelyn was there for that. Yeah.
All right. John Hannah, who played Jonathan, Evie's brother, originally auditioned for what role?
Oh, did he audition for The Mummy?
No, he auditioned for Rick O'Connell.
Really?
Yeah. And so John Hannah, this was his first comedic role, and he wasn't sure if he could do it.
Yeah.
And he ended up being fucking hilarious.
He's in a ton of stuff, too.
Yeah. I mean, he was in Spartacus, which I think is such a good series.
It is an amazing series, and he is awful.
He's great.
Like, he's great, but like his character's so bad.
Such a dick, yeah.
Okay, speaking of Jonathan, in the movie, he says the plague of boils that happens in the movie is the final plague.
Okay.
Referring to the story of Moses in the Bible. But that's not accurate. That wasn't. The plague of boils was not the final plague. In the story of Moses, what is the actual final plague?
Why are you going to be asking me? This is about the mummy.
I'm testing your history here.
The language of the slaves.
Your Bible knowledge.
It's
famous, though. The final plague, it's famous. In the story of Moses, the final thing.
Is it Passover? The killing of the firstborn?
It is!
Yeah, okay.
It is!
Gosh. All right.
That's the angel of death.
Yeah.
Because they were slaves. The Israelites were slaves, and it kills the firstborn. Yeah.
All right.
Death.
Well, fuck you. I'm asking a question that's not about the mummy then.
Okay. Both of my questions
It's
are like
just-
real history questions. Sorry.
One of the American cowboys called Mr. Burns, and he is the first one to be killed by the mummy, gets his eyes and tongue taken out by the mummy.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Is also in a famous NBC sitcom. What sitcom and what is his character? And this is worth 2 points.
That actor?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
He is in a famous NBC sitcom. Name the sitcom and his character.
Okay, it's got to be like late 90s. Is he in that 70s show?
Mm-mm. It's not even that late 90s. It's Parks and Rec,
Oh.
and he was Pistol Pete.
Oh. So it's actually related. I was way off.
Yeah.
I was way off. Okay, I got another connector then. Okay.
Hit me with it.
We all know that Brendan Fraser's best movie of all time is Encino Man. Obviously, we all know that. with
I can tell you his Pauly Shore.
what's his name? Pauly Shore
Shore,
and
yeah.
was Sean Astin.
Yeah,
From Lord of the Rings?
Oh, that's right. It was Sean Astin.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
What's his name in Lord of the Rings? Samwise.
Samwise Gamgee.
All right. Samwise Gamgee, Brendan Fraser, and Pauly Shore are in a movie together.
It's not that good. I'm sorry.
What story element does the Mummy share with Encino Man?
Well, the bringing back of a dead dude.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Long lost character is accidentally brought back to life.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know it was that obvious.
Yeah. Come on. Come on. All right. We talked about Stephen Sommers, the director, and how he never went on to do anything good after The Mummy Returns.
Okay.
But he did do another movie that was meant to be a trilogy, but flopped. So they canceled the trilogy, but also happens to be one of my favorite movies.
Oh, and it was one movie?
It was supposed to be a trilogy,
Uh-huh.
but it was such a flop that they canceled it after the first one.
Oh, I know this, man.
It came out shortly after, so this is early 2000s.
Oh, man. It's not Mortal Kombat because they made two of those.
No, Mortal Kombat was in the 90s.
That's early 90s? Yeah, that was earlier.
Mortal Kombat. It was, yeah.
Oh, shit.
It is not a video game movie.
Oh.
Come on. Come on.
It's not Sahara because we were talking about that.
Yeah. It kind of fits the adventure theme though a little bit.
Oh, I know what it is. I can't remember.
It also features another famous Universal Studios monster. Two of them actually.
Okay.
Come
All right,
on.
that's a good hint.
Come on.
All right, we're talking like Wolfman, Dracula.
You just said the two right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
Is it the Monster Squad? No, it's not the Monster
Come
Squad.
on. Last guess. You got this. It's actually has a third. I forgot it also has Frankenstein in it.
This is gonna kill me.
Dracula, werewolf, Frankenstein.
Oh! I know it.
Come on.
Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
Hugh Jackman is
Kate Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale. What is the guy's name? He's the Monster Hunter. He's the Monster Hunter. Not Ramstein. It's
Come on.
He's Anthony Hopkins.
Hopkins
was
was
in Bram Stoker's.
Yes, and that's his name.
His name is
Van
Van Helsing.
Oh my god. I don't even know if I should give you a point for that.
I worked hard for that
I'm gonna
one.
give you a point. Fuck.
All right, this is my last.
That movie is so bad, but I love it.
All right, this is a two-parter, so you can get a potential of 2 points
Okay.
out of this. So Rick and Evelyn's mansion in The Mummy Returns, the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Rick and their mansion. It also appears
The library.
in not a Mummy movie. It also appears in a different movie series.
A different movie series.
Yes,
All right.
and I can give you a hint if you want it.
Yeah, that's a little too abstract.
Okay, it appears in a comic book movie series. And if you tell me what movie it is and what it portrays, those are 2 different points.
A comic.
It's their mansion in the second movie. Mummy
Yeah,
Returns.
yeah. I mean, the only thing that would make sense would be X-Men, and that's Xavier's school.
No.
Oh.
No, it's Wayne Manor in Batman Begins.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's Bruce Wayne's house, man. In
I don't
Batman
like that.
Begins.
I don't like that.
Just
I don't like that.
That's all the trivia questions.
All right.
But you have a lot.
I got a couple more,
Okay.
and we'll do. You get it right, you get a point. You get it wrong, I get a point.
All right.
Okay. The Mummy Returns launched the career of one of the biggest movie stars ever. Who
All right.
was it?
One of the biggest movie stars
Mhm.
ever.
The Mummy Returns launched the career of the biggest movie star ever to date. Who was it?
Which movie?
The Mummy Returns.
The Mummy Returns
Mhm.
launched.
The career of, to date, the biggest movie star ever.
What? It's not Tom Cruise. I mean, Tom Cruise is like, he's the movie star. He's not in The Mummy Returns.
So that can't be the answer.
It can't be Brendan Fraser because he bounced out. It
Mhm.
can't be Rachel Weisz.
Launched. So their first movie ever
Uh-huh.
was The Mummy Returns.
Their first
Movie ever. And is now considered the biggest movie star ever.
Who the hell would this be? It's not like, was Chris Pratt in this movie somewhere in the background?
Come on!
Is it like a fucking villager or something?
How is it? Oh, I thought this was going to be a gimme.
Really?
Yeah.
The Mummy Returns launched the career of the biggest movie star.
ever. The highest paid, biggest movie star of all time.
What? Who? I mean, Tom Cruise is the only person I can think of. I don't know.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh my gosh! Oh, what the hell is wrong with me? I was like, who's famous in this movie?
It was his first movie ever.
That's right.
Yeah,
out of wrestling.
Mhm. He did a couple TV shows, like guest appearances. Like I think he was in Star Trek once.
He was.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
In Voyager. It was terrible.
Okay, well, I was going to ask
That
how many
was-
Scorpion King movies has there been, but you said that during the actual recording. Oh, all right. In Evie's first life, she was Nefertiri.
Yeah.
In history, though, that's not the character's name. So Nefertiri is based off a real
Yeah.
daughter of a pharaoh.
Yeah.
But they had to change the name in the movie. Do you know what her real name is in actual history?
So I know this one.
Okay.
Because I remember the actual name and I know the reason too.
Okay.
So her real name was Nefertiti
Mm-hmm.
and they changed it because titty.
Because titties. They thought there was getting too many titty jokes. All right. That was a two-parter. So you you were tied 3-3. You got 2 points for that one.
Nefertitis.
Never titties.
Yeah.
Never titties.
You know in that scene where they had that flashback where they were fighting, they were like knife fighting. That was actually Rachel Weisz and
Antsuna Moon. Yeah.
Like they didn't use stunts for that. They trained for like months to do that.
The
scene.
only part where I think it was a stunt double is when they were doing the cartwheels.
I think that was them though.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
Like they like went hardcore on that. Yeah.
All right. Now
Also body paint.
we
Oh
talked
my
about
God.
how
Yeah.
the first movie took place in the 20s and the third movie took place in the 30s. This is another two-parter.
All right.
Give me the year that the first movie takes place and the year the second movie takes place in modern times. So I'm not asking for like Egyptian, like old. I'm asking what year did it take place?
Oh,
This is a two-parter as well.
was it 19? Ooh.
So it's 19. We already said it's the 20s and the 30s.
Uh-huh.
So
Was it 22 for the first one and 32 for the second one?
You're so close. It is 10 years apart difference.
Yeah.
It is 23 in 1933.
Oh!
All right. That is 5 points. That's 5 total points for me. That's 2 points from that one. All right. Another two-parter for you, so we might be able to tie this up.
Okay, here we go.
We talked
baby.
about mirroring, and in the first two movies, they did a lot of it.
This is that one you
Yep.
said you were going to ask.
What glyph did Jonathan have to ask Evie for in the first movie while she's fighting an Oxuna Moon? And it's the same glyph that Alex has to ask Jonathan for while he's fighting an Oxuna Moon in The Mummy Returns. So what is the glyph animal, and can you give me the name of the glyph, like the actual translation?
Oh, I think like the hieroglyph.
The hieroglyph.
I think I know this.
Okay.
Was it the stork?
It is a stork.
Oh.
And what is the word that glyph, the hieroglyph meant?
Oh, man. What was that? Because they shouted it out.
Mm-hmm.
They made a point. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
They saw the stork, and it meant like, was it like eternal life or something?
No, but like, what was the word, the Egyptian word for that, for the stork?
Oh,
He's like, I can't remember what glyph this is. Like, what is it? Like, it's a bird, it's a stork.
it was like
It's
Ankh something. It started with an A.
it did start with an A. Come on,
It was like
come on. You got 1 point. If you get this right, you tie. And we can come up with another trivia question.
It was like Ankh storm. I can't.
Stork.
I don't know.
A Amenephis.
Ah.
Yeah. All right.
Fucking hieroglyphs.
So we each
You
get
asked me a
point on that one.
hieroglyph question, Owen.
You asked me a question about a real person that discovered a real thing.
That's King Tut.
And you asked me a Bible trivia question.
You used to be a youth pastor. You should know that. So you beat me. You got me.
Yeah,
That's
apparently.
fine. Well, you know this season's gonna just keep going until I win.
Well, we're tied right now at 68-68.
Oh, overall tie?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, baby. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's crazy.
All right. Well, this has been an awesome bro episode.
Yeah. No, it's been fantastic. I've been enjoying it. I mean, we've had a lot of guests for the past couple of weeks, so it's just good to get, like I always say, back to basics.
Hell yeah. So just check out our Instagram and Twitter to see our behind the scenes videos and some of the stuff we're posting about throughout the week.
Yes. And not to end on a sad note, but
Owen's dying.
no, one of our
That's terrible.
badly timed joke, Brando.
No. Oh, this is. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
yeah. I get it. I normally when I say this,
Well,
like,
we're joking around.
It's joking around.
But
we do want to make an announcement. Unfortunately, one of our previous guests and a close friend of mine passed away last week.
Yes.
So Jackson Thrive, he was on the Matrix episode we did, which I'm not kidding you. I think this is a year ago to date. I think it is legitimately a year ago was the Matrix episode. Did pass away last week.
Check out that episode because you can hear him. He was so funny.
Absolutely hilarious.
We had such a great time. When you told me about that, I was genuine. I was like,
it was very, very sad.
No.
I did want to state that, Jackson, we love you. We're sorry about everything. I will see you in the next life. But definitely check out the Matrix episode. We might re-release it. We'll figure something out to honor him. So
yeah. Also, we just want to give you guys a heads up again on the Patreon and the website. You can support our show. We're hoping to really grow this year and really make some moves. We got some new shows coming out, and we're hoping to really fund and finance this thing. We haven't yet been able to. That's part of the startup process of this. Of you got
figuring out the next steps.
Yeah, well, you got to create the thing first before it can be financially supported. But now we're hoping to transition to that. So we'd love for you to check out the Patreon and all the awesome perks that we have there, and the store on the website, and our other shows. We have amazing shows.
And once again, I said it a little bit earlier, but you got to check out Master and Debaters. If you're listening to this episode the day it comes out, 2 days prior to it, the Monday before, I was on Master and Debaters and got to debate Marvel versus DC. And we did debate all things superheroes. I did a very fun, one of the fun questions I got to ask was a fuck, marry, kill. It was She-Hulk. Oh, what was the other one?
She-Hulk, Clayface. Yeah.
Or
was it Harley Quinn?
Harley Quinn. No, Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. So fuck, marry, kill. So we got to debate Marvel versus DC, which one's better, but we also did a bunch of fun superhero stuff.
I thought that She-Hulk was the clear marriage material. Clayface is an insane criminal, though.
Yeah, so?
You want to be married to that?
But also can be anything I want it to be.
I could shapeshift. But he probably wouldn't, though. He'd be an asshole about it. You know he would. You'd be right at the climax, and he'd turn into some
But have you seen the way the clay moves in the? It's got to feel good.
It's like warm apple pie.
It's like warm apple pie.
He'd turn into some hairy Italian guy or something.
Oh, God.
Right when you're like, damn it.
Well, I'm Owen.
Hey, I love you all. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Banter and Such.
Next week, we are going to be continuing this little mini series of some of our favorite adventure movies. And you're going to have to tune in and find out because like any good adventure movie, there's a little mystery. So we're not going to tell you what movies we're doing next week.
Ooh.
And it's not because we don't know. We do know. I promise you that. Yeah,
we
I
do.
just want to keep you on your toes for a week.
All right. Well, I'm Brando.
And I'm Owen.
Until next time, may your week be filled with BS.